Now, India has declined Russia's offer to sell it liquefied natural gas or LNG, subject to US sanctions, despite a shortfall driven by West Asia tensions, according to two sources with direct knowledge of the matter. The decision has left a tanker bound for India in limbo as talks continue over permitted cargoes. The move highlights the fine balance India, the world's third biggest oil importer and consumer, is trying to maintain between securing energy supplies and avoiding LNG cargoes under US sanctions, which are harder to disguise and carry greater compliance risks. It also underlines the limits of Russia's ability to redirect its LNG exports to new markets. India's reluctance has left an LNG cargo from Russia's US-sanctioned Portovaya plant in the Baltic Sea unable to discharge, despite indicating India as its destination in mid-April. One of the sources said the vessel was tracked despite documentation suggesting the cargo was non-Russian. India, the biggest buyer of Russian seaborne crude oil, conveyed its decision not to buy LNG under sanction to Russia's Deputy Energy Minister Pavel Sorokin. During his April 30th visit, Sorokin met Indian officials including Petroleum and Natural Gas Minister Hardeep Singh Puri. This was their second meeting in as many months, and Sorokin could return next month in June for further talks. India's Oil and Gas Ministry and Russia's embassy in Delhi did not immediately respond to requests for any comments on the matter. Meanwhile, India's purchases of Russian crude oil have continued unabated, aided by a temporary waiver of US sanctions introduced to help countries cope with an energy crisis resulting from the US-Israel war on Iran, which began on the 28th of February and continues till date. Arctic LNG 2 is Russia's other export plant subject to US sanctions. Washington had stepped up sanctions on the LNG plants in early 2025, that's last year, over Russia's war on Ukraine. Sources say while crude oil cargoes can be hidden through ship-to-ship transfers at sea, LNG shipments or liquefied natural gas shipments are far harder to conceal from satellite tracking. India remains open to buying authorized Russian LNG, but most of those volumes are already committed to Europe. China, meanwhile, continues to remain a major buyer of both sanctioned and unsanctioned Russian LNG. Moscow is also seeking long-term deals to supply India with LNG and fertilizers like potash, phosphorus, and urea. Before the Iran war erupted, shipping through the Strait of Hormuz, India was meeting half of its gas consumption through the imports, with about 60% of those supplies coming through the waterway. More than half of India's crude oil supplies also pass through the Strait of Hormuz. Against this backdrop, Prime Minister Modi on Sunday urged people to conserve fuel and foreign exchange by working from home, limiting foreign travel, and reducing imports of gold and edible oil.